Hi everyone, so today I want to show you how I made this card. Now I made this card, this was actually the first video that I ever made that I actually put up on my channel, and the video quality is absolutely atrocious. So I just thought I need to remake that card because the video is horrendous. It is horrendous. So yeah, so I've remade it today. It's not the easiest of cards to make, I have to say. I mean, it's not the most difficult, but it's just things like triangles. I don't get on very well with cutting out triangles. But anyway, we powered through and I got there in the end. So that's good. So yeah, so this is the card that we make. So you open it up and there's your space for your greeting. So the paper's on the front. This is from the new Antonio Makes Christmas kit. So this is actually from the Christmas one. And then the tartan on the inside is actually from his Silent Night. Again, it's part of his Christmas pack, but he's got 3 different Christmas packs. He's got a monochrome Christmas, a Silent Night, and then a more traditional one. I can't remember what the other one's called. But anyway, I think it's just called Christmas. But yeah, the 2 papers do go well together. So that's what I've done. So I've done one from one and one from the other. This red is just some matte card that I had. It's actually paper that I had left lying around. And then I've used this die is a Craft die. The bits in the middle are actually Lucy Abraham's shop, Lucy's shop. And these are, I think they're just called circles. They're sort of meant for shaker cards, but I thought it worked really well in the middle. This was just from my stash. And yeah, and that's pretty much it. And then this is just a card blank from Craft UK Limited, I believe. But yeah, I shall try and link everything down in the bottom. I've made all this glitter with a bit of Wink of Stella pen. This is my Wink of Stella pen, in case you're not quite sure what this is. It's just basically Wink of Stella brush pen, and it makes everything sort of glittery. I've actually laid it on quite thick because I did squeeze it when I was putting it on, and so it's made it quite quite glossy, and I really wanted that sparkle. I wanted a bit of shine, so I've got a bit of difference between the layers. So yeah, so that's the card for today, so let's get into it. Okay, so for this card you're going to need a 5x7 card blank. If you haven't got a 5x7 card blank, you can just go ahead and use a piece of 7x10, and all you need to do is on the 10-inch length, just score it halfway at 5 inches. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and fold that up. And we also need to bring in a cork board and a ruler and your scoring tool, because in a minute we're going to be doing some diagonal folds. So before we do the diagonal folds, let's just get this blank ready. So take your card blank, and along the bottom edge, so you're going to have it so it's like a top folding card. And on the bottom edge, you just want to make a mark halfway at 3.5 inches. And then up the side, we're going to make a mark at 2.5 inches. And also at 3 3/4 inches. And so you want to do that again on here. So when I'm measuring it, I'm measuring from the fold downwards. So at 2.5 and then 3 3/4. So this is the bottom edge here. Okay, so you're measuring up. You're basically measuring up. Yeah, so you're measuring from the top folded edge down 2.5 and then 3 3/4. Okay, so that's what you want to do for there. So now we're going to bring in a cork board. And what we're going to do is we're just going to open our card blank up, and you want to score from that middle point to that first mark, so your 2.5 inch score mark that you did, and you score straight down. And we can do the same on the other side. Now you just need to make sure you don't overshoot that mark. Okay, so what I would do is turn it around, so then you know that your ruler is on that mark, so you know you're not going to go over it. Okay, so you should end up with that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go from that mark again, and we're going to go to the next mark down, so the 3 3/4 mark. And again, it's very important that you don't overshoot it. You really do need to concentrate where you're putting your score lines, because if you go too far over, you'll end up with a bit of a gap, and if you go past it, you'll end up with tears. So you really do need to watch that. It's a bit tricky, that bit. So let's go from here to here. Okay, hopefully that will work out okay. So you should end up with that, hopefully. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to, before we start folding things up, we're going to bring in our other pieces. So you're only going to need for this, now your measurements do end up slightly weird, but like when you go to stick it down, it does end up a bit strange, but it's fine. We can sort it out. So what you want to do is you need 2 mat pieces that are 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. And one of them, so we're going to keep one to one side, and then the other one is just going to go on the inside. So if you obviously put your, like a top fold, have that's your front, open it up, and on the inside you're just going to go ahead and stick that down. You also need a piece of pattern paper that is 4.5 by 6.5. It's going to go over the top. Don't worry about the fact you've got nowhere to write. We're going to write on the back, or you can put a little piece in here where you can write inside. We might end up doing that actually with this, I'm not sure, we'll see. I'm going to go ahead and stick these 2 down. Okay, so once you've stuck this middle bit down, you should end up with that. So now I'm just going to flip this over, and you want to bring your mat layer in. So if I move this to one side, you want to measure along the short edge, and you want to mark down from this short edge, from this left hand side down, at 2 1/4. You want to repeat that on the bottom. Don't turn your card around, leave it where it is. So 2 1/4 from left to right. Okay, so now what we're going to do is turn this round, and along here we're going to mark halfway at 3 3/8. So make a little mark there. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to cut from here, from this mark here, up to there. And the same on this side. So we're going to mark from here to that mark over there. Okay, so we've got that's what we've got. So now we're going to go ahead, and on the back we're just going to put some tape, because otherwise if you cut it and you haven't put tape on, it's going to get a bit tricky trying to glue tiny triangles and angles and whatever. So what I would do is just do a few lines of like tape. If you've got a thicker tape than this, that would be good, but just do a few lines just till you reach, yeah, that's about right for that bit. I'm actually going to do it all the way up until I get to that point, I think, just because otherwise your triangles, it's just a bit tricky, if I'm honest. If you want to put a whole self-adhesive sheet on the back, you can. That's probably a better idea, but I'm just gonna, because I don't want to use a whole adhesive sheet, so I need to go up to there. That's where in fact what I'm going to do now actually is I'm just going to go up this line here. Okay, so I've really gone to town with the tape, as you can see, but it's just so that if I turn it over, you probably can't see, but I know I've got tape up to this point here. So all of that triangle's covered, this bit here, everything's covered basically. So I'm going to go ahead now and we're going to cut down these lines. Okay, so you can sort of see a bit of my bits here. I don't want to bring them down because I'm going to use them in a minute. So now we're going to bring our card back in. Okay, so we're going to go ahead now and stick this centerpiece in. Now, when I was just cutting out those triangular bits, I've realised they don't actually match up into here, and I'm not quite sure why. Those mathematicians of you will know why, but I don't know why. So anyway, there we go. So we're just going to have to cut them to fit. This is what we're going to have to do. I think this is the reason why I did the lapel fold card and then I never did it again, because I always find that cutting out triangles is a bit of a pain, but I thought I'd give it a go, and actually now I'm regretting that decision. But anyway, never mind. We will continue anyway, and we will see what we can do. So we're going to go ahead and stick this down onto here. Okay, so I've stuck that down. It's not the best sticking, I have to say, that I've ever done. I think I'd probably use a thicker mat and use glue next time. But anyway, if there is a next time, which at this rate, there won't be one. So these were supposed to fit in there, but they don't. And I don't know why, because I have kind of measure them, but they don't fit, so that's fine. So we're going to put those to one side, and what we're going to do is we're literally going to bring this one in like this. I'm just going to place it roughly where it needs to be, about there I would say. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little mark here, a little mark there. We're going to cut across there. I was very tempted to just abandon this video and not bother. However, you guys like to see me making mistakes because then it shows you that we all make mistakes and how to fix them. So this is what I'm going to do. So I know there'll be, oh, let's not cut two together. I know there'll be mathematicians there amongst you who can work out what it should be, etc. But I can't. So here you go. I can't. So there you are. Right, so we're going to put this on top of there like that. I'm just going to copy it across. I'm going to put them face to face, and we're just going to copy this across like this. And there we go. So they should both now be about right. Okay, so now what we need to do is we just need to do the angle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just try and work it out and draw a line. The problem is because I've put the backing on it, they like to twizzle. So I'm just going to get a little bit of, I'm just hoping this isn't going to tear. I'll put a little bit on there just to kind of hold it in place. And then we're just going to draw down there like that. Very carefully undo that. Like that. And then we're going to cut along that line there, and then I will use this one as a template for the other one if it's correct. So now they more or less fit. They're not the best, but they're not too bad. This one's a bit off. I might just straighten that up a little bit. I don't know why that's wobbly, but it is. It's still a bit wobbly, but anyway, that'll do. I'm not going to get too picky. So we're going to go ahead and stick these down. Now, one thing I was planning to do, which I'm now not going to do, is I was planning on putting pattern paper on these little triangular sections. But I'm not going to do that now because trying to cut out a triangular piece of pattern, I think is going to be very, very tricky indeed. So we're going to leave these just as plain red and just have a flash of red. I think it'll look fine when we get to it. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so you should end up with that. So now we can go ahead and do our folds. So what we want to do is we're going to fold this inside one here is a valley and that's a mountain. So I'm going to go valley first. And then mountain. Okay, so you should end up with that. So that's your lapel bit. So now we're going to deal with this top bit here. So I'm just going to fold these back down again. And we're going to take this one in. Now I was going to have it like that and have these bits on the corners. I still could if I wanted to faff. I don't know if I want to faff. Or I could have it this way around. But I think I'm going to go with this way. This way seems better. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn this over. So I'm working on the back. And I'm literally going to use, I'm not going to use measurements. I'm just going to go with the template that I've got. So I'm going to mark a halfway here. I'm going to mark, and then I'm going to look at the border there and then kind of copy it here. And the same here. And we're just going to wing it, is what we're going to do. So I'm going to draw a line between those points. And then cut those pieces out. And before I cut them out, I'm going to go ahead and put tape on. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut along my lines that I've done. Okay, so you end up with this. So I'm going to go ahead and stick that on the front there. Okay, so you end up with this. So we're going to fold that up like that. Now, if you wanted to, as I said, you could take these, work out what your pattern would be, and then just add those on. I might not bother. I'm just going to have a look and see. I think I might leave it as the red. Yeah, I think I'm just going to leave it as the red. I'm not going to use the triangles. I could use the triangles, but I think it looks fine with the red. Okay, so I'm going to leave it like that. I'm not going to bother with the triangles on the bottom because I quite like the little flick of red. I think it's quite nice. And then all I need to do now is I'm going to put something in the middle and then put on a greeting. Now, I've really got a poinsettia. And this was an old do-craft die. And it cuts out, if I turn it over you can see, cuts out these layers and then you can just layer them up. And I've actually cut them out the same card, and then what I've done is I've gone over the alternate leaves with Wink of Stella, and I've really laid it on thick to get it this this shiny. And it's still a bit wet actually because I've literally just done it. So that is going to go in the middle there. So I'm going to go ahead and stick that onto the middle there, and then we will add a greeting. Okay, so I found this Happy Christmas to you. So I'm going to go ahead, put it on pads and just stick it on the side there. And then I've also got, oh, I could put it there actually, couldn't I? No, I'm going to stick it up the top. It looks better at the top there. So I'm going to go ahead and stick that down. Okay, so I've stuck my greeting down. So now we just have to deal with the inside. So one of these, don't mind this is just where I've glued this. And then because it was slightly damp, it's just left a mark on there. Right, so I've got a piece of card here. Now you can use whatever card you want. If you want it on the back, you can. This piece is 5.5 by 2 3/4. I've just stamped a greeting on it, and that is going to go at the top there like that. So I've got a bit of a wider gap left and right, but I don't mind that. And when this shuts, you do see the very tiny corner here. So if you wanted to, you could angle it. It doesn't really bother me, I have to say. It really doesn't bother me. It's not enough that you're going to notice it. When it's up, I don't think you're really going to see it. So, yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and stick that in. Okay, so there's your finished card. So that's the front of it. You've got these lovely lapels. I haven't bothered doing this bit here because you don't see it because it's folded back. If you wanted to, you could. You could put pattern on the front here if you want to. And then you open it up and then there's your place to write. And as I said, when you've got it up, so it stands sort of like that, you can't really see it, even though actually you've got the tiniest of tips showing of that that inside. You don't really see it. So yeah, so that's the card I did today. So hopefully you like it. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. Leave a comment down below and we will see you next time. Okie doke, bye.